Hi, I'm Dr. Jeffrey LeBenger. At Summit Medical Group, we believe that all citizens need to be informed about the important healthcare issues that affect their lives. That's why we're very proud to support important programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by TD Bank, the New Jersey Education Association, New Jersey Council of County Colleges, Summit Medical Group, a physician-owned multi-specialty medical practice serving northern and central New Jersey in 70 locations. M.D. Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, the North Ward Center, and by Fedway Associates. Promotional support provided by Observer New Jersey Politics, and by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
This is One-on-One.
I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to the Tisch WNET studio here in the heart of Manhattan, Lincoln Center. It is our honor and pleasure to welcome Dr. Sonia Tolani, Assistant Professor of Medicine, Columbia University Medical Center. Good to see you, Doctor.
Good to see you, too. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. We're here to talk about women, cardiovascular disease, the #1 killer of women in this country. Most people know that or don't know it?
Don't know it. And not only is it the #1 killer, it kills 2 to 3 times more than breast cancer, cervical cancer, Alzheimer's, basically all the cancers together. If you look back in the early 2000s, only about 15% of women knew that heart disease was the #1 killer. You look last year, we're only up to 50%. So you've got half of women not understanding that the most important reason and thing that they need to worry about is their heart health.
So let's do this. Let's break down some of the most significant, quote unquote, risk factors for women.
Sure. So we have traditional risk factors for everybody. And those are diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, smoking, and having a family history of someone having a heart attack or a stroke at a young age. Women have those same risk factors. Some of them happen to be even more deadly for women. So while diabetes doubles the risk of having heart disease for a man, it triples the risk for having heart disease.
Triples?
For a woman, right. And smoking, bad for everybody, but about 25% more deadly for women than for men. On top of that, we have other risk factors that we're just learning about and understanding in the last couple of years that make women more susceptible to having heart disease.
Sure.
So complications during pregnancy, something called preeclampsia is...
Preeclampsia.
Preeclampsia. So that is a disorder of pregnancy where the mother, the woman carrying the child, gets very high blood pressure. Even if they have minor increases in their high blood pressure, any high blood pressure during pregnancy at all, or any diabetes during pregnancy at all, increases the risk that a woman's going to have a heart attack later on in life. Because pregnancy is sort of a stress test that your body is going through. And having high blood pressure or diabetes during that period of time is a marker that that woman is at risk for having heart disease later on in life.
Doctor, let me ask you, for you as a physician, two-part question. First of all, when did you decide to go into medicine? And I'll ask you about your specialty.
Sure. So for me, I actually decided I wanted to be a doctor very, very young. You know, my parents...
How young?
I would say maybe grade school.
Really?
Though, if you look back, I think in 3rd grade I wrote that I wanted to be a figure skater. I think.
Was this in Indiana?
This was in Indiana.
Okay.
My parents immigrated from India, and so growing up, the work ethic was to study hard and be the best that you can be. And in our community, the people that were the most esteemed, the people that we trusted the most, that we thought were the smartest, were doctors. And so the ultimate goal was to become a doctor. And, you know, that's sort of from a very early age where I wanted to be.
Where does cardiology come into it?
Cardiology came into it because, you know, I'm a very ordered person. I like things to all make sense. So, you know, cardiology, your heart is really a pump. It's a very simple organ. It provides the entire sustenance for your life, but it's really pipes and it's physics and it all makes sense. And there's so much that we can do for people with heart disease. You know, for me, you know, knowing that 90% of heart disease could be reduced by just addressing people's risk factors, to know that you have the power to really, truly, you know, make people live longer, healthier lives. I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, the app, is it called Love My Heart?
Love My Heart.
What is it? Make sense of it for us.
So it actually came out from a colleague of mine, who's also a woman cardiologist, realizing that women don't know what their risk is for heart disease. And the other problem with this is that healthcare providers are not doing a good enough job of telling women about their risk.
What do you mean?
So 80% of women from age, say, 40 to 70 have some risk factor for heart disease. Only about 16% have had their healthcare provider talk to them about their risk. And so if we know that heart disease can be prevented by addressing the risk factors, why are we not speaking to women about the risk factors so that they can have a chance to eat better, exercise more, you know, take medications if they need to? So the app starts off with a 5-minute risk calculator. You put your information in, your height, your weight, a little bit about your history, your pregnancy history, and at the end of it, you get basically a score. And it tells you whether you're in ideal health, where you have a medium risk, or you have a high risk. And the great thing about it, it's all based on studies done by the American Heart Association about women's heart disease. And unlike the myriad of things that are out there, it's vetted, it's simple, and it gives you the information that you need. Am I at risk? And you can do this without any doctors, without talking to anybody about it. And once you get your risk, the app will also give you a plan to help you learn how to be healthier. So if you have high blood pressure, we'll give you some information about how to lower salt in your diet, you know, and different things like that.
Real quick, before I out, when should women start thinking about their hearts?
Anytime, really. You know, we think at least starting in your 30s. So where heart disease is going down in every single demographic, the one demographic where it's going up are women aged 30 to 45.
Going up.
It's going up. So really, you know, women should be thinking about it the minute they become adults.
Dr. Sonia Tolani, Assistant Professor of Medicine, Columbia University Medical Center, Women, Cardiovascular Health. You gave extremely important information to a lot of women watching out there on public television, FIOS, all of our audiences. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well done. It's good public service.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're pleased to be joined by Tommy Weber, bench coach of the Brewster Whitecaps of the Cape Cod Baseball League and professor at the great St. John's University. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. You've loved baseball from when?
Well, baseball's been a religion in my life, really. My father was a pro. My father was a scout, and I became a Yankee fan for life. As a 7-year-old, I had a chance encounter with Mickey Mantle coming out of Yankee Stadium.
Where'd
so
you
that
grow
was
up?
pretty much Brooklyn, and then Staten Island.
Whoa. Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yankees.
Yeah.
So the Dodgers were out.
But the Dodgers were very much in my house because my father was, of course, a Brooklyn guy who worshipped the Dodgers. Three teams in New York City all at once. To those guys, they had this real proprietary interest in baseball. They were real kind of stewards of the game. You know, the worst sin you could commit in my house was to disrespect the game of baseball. That was it.
Really?
That was it, man. You had to make sure you respected the game. You ran everything out. You ran on and off the field. You dressed the right way. You spoke the right way. You respected your opponents. You respected your teammates.
Cheater-esque?
Absolutely.
That's what comes to mind.
You know what? Yeah, maybe, perhaps, arguably the greatest, not the greatest player of all time, but the greatest, perhaps the greatest career, all things taken into account, of all time is Derek Jeter.
You know, I'm fascinated by your background because as a student of leadership who got cut from my varsity baseball team, and I just told you our two sons play baseball and trying to get better every day at 13 and 15. I'm fascinated by how it isn't just baseball for you. It's the connection between baseball. I may be making too much of this, Tommy. Baseball, life, and leadership. You see them together, don't you?
Absolutely, no question about it. Listen, I was, in Brooklyn, I watched my grandfather take a pail of water, hot water, put some soap in it, and scrub the street in front of us. And that really informed the rest of my life. My grandmother used to watch us go to school with all the other Italian ladies with the pillow on top of the window sill. And we disappeared past 4th Avenue, my brother and I. He was 10, I was 6, and they didn't see us again until 3 o'clock. So we had this real emancipated upbringing, and that has informed the rest of my life. My goal with my players and my students is to free them up a little bit. I think they've lost their voice, and I want to give it back to them.
As a teacher as well at St. John's, talk about that work.
Absolutely. By some chance, I used to get my student interns for my club, Staten Island Tide. I used to do a lecture every semester at St. John's, and one semester, the professor said to me, "Why don't you teach?" I said, "I've never taught." He said, "You've been teaching your whole life."
You've been teaching, yeah, I was just going to say.
That's what he said, and I hit the ground running. From the moment I went into that first class, I don't even think about what I'm going to do until I get to the class, and I kind of read the tea leaves and see what's happening, whether it be topical or something else that I really have on my mind that I want to discuss with my students, and I try to get them to participate as much as possible.
What I'm fascinated by is, I feel, as a student of leadership who writes and teaches on the subject and also tries to run our organization, I hear a lot of this talk from a lot of folks. Oh, millennials, they're impossible. They're not impossible, but they're different. They're hard to motivate. They don't stay with it. They're impatient. You say?
Steve, the millennials are great. They're the same as our generation, except they have different challenges than we had. And the generation that comes after them is going to have a different set of challenges.
Sorry for interrupting. Social media, the thing on the, I got on my phone hasn't changed.
That's a challenge that we didn't have. Maybe we fell in love with baseball because we had no other choices. Had we had all those other choices, perhaps we wouldn't have been so in love with baseball.
We sit 3 hours for a game.
Right, the reality is I was desperate for something to do, so what did we do? We convened in the street and made up a game. So, I know you did it, we all did.
In Newark.
There you go, it's the same thing.
I was said in my neighborhood, same difference.
There you go, same difference, right.
But you connect with these kids.
I do.
On what level? What is it that you see in them?
I think you need to convey to kids that you're in it with them, and that there is a degree, you have to be a little vulnerable. I think people are afraid to be. I'm a guy who is vulnerable. I'm willing to invest in this with you, and your well-being becomes something that I'm really vested in, and that means a lot to me, not my agenda. I spent 30 years where I didn't, my next paycheck was my first paycheck in the game of baseball. So I came to this process, I think, with a clean, with a pure heart, with the player's agenda first, and I really think that that's what it's all about. How can I stand between what stands between my players and where they want to go?
You've also said, and I was looking at the notes, obviously, before we start this interview, and you do have thoughts about money and baseball and motivation and today's players, do you not?
I do. I think that at some point, it's impossible to ignore the fact that when you make so much money and it's guaranteed, that there is a factor there that may decrease your incentive to be desperate and play your best.
We're past the tipping point?
I think we got past the tipping point a long time ago. That's why I think football has the perfect system. Because in football, essentially, it's like the rest of the free market. If you don't perform, they get rid of you and they get somebody else who performs. And anybody else,
guarantee.
Right. Anybody else who wants to sign you for that amount of money and thinks that you could perform well for them, they have every right to do so. So you're not in any way blackballed from the game. You can go and sign with the Giants or the Steelers or the Redskins or whomever. In baseball, you're kind of stuck with the guy. You're paying him for what he did as opposed to what he's going to do.
That's money in the bigs, if you will. Somebody gets a quote-unquote cup of coffee. But by the way, tell everyone where that expression comes from, a cup of coffee.
A cup of coffee?
Yeah, you come...
You get up to the big leagues, you spend enough time to get a cup of coffee, and then you're out.
Always love that expression. Go back to the league that you coach in right now. Describe it.
Top of the food chain. Greatest, it's amazing at this stage of the game to have a dream come true. But I grew up with 25 guys this year at the Brewster Whitecaps. These are the best players in the best league on the planet. Nobody quits that league to go someplace better unless you play professionally. We had guys who turned down millions of dollars out of high school who played for us, and those guys gave me a gift that I just never could have imagined.
Did you guys just win something?
We certainly did. We are the 2017 Cape Cod League champions, and we will forever be that. And I will never have.
Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
It's something that I never. I can't. As I said to my players during a party that if I didn't break every single NCAA rule, I broke whatever ones were left at that party, I will take a bullet for you. You know, you call me in the middle of the night and you need me, I'm there for you for the rest of your life, because what you did for me, I could never have expected and I could never pay you back for.
You know, we just met each other for the first time. I've read about you, know about you, and we have a connection.
Absolutely.
You know, through your wife, who is part of our world as well, in the broadcasting world. It strikes me that this is very personal for you, the connection to your players. It's not just baseball, but it's personal.
Absolutely. It really is personal. I feel I have a sacred duty to my players, and that is to be their advocate. I'm not just, a lot of coaches are adversaries to their players. I am their advocate, and they know that. I tell them that very early on. In the beginning, they're a little uncomfortable with it, and I also tell them, I'm giving the game back to you. You're gonna own your game. I'm not gonna hover over you. I'm gonna allow you to discover and invent and innovate and become the best you could possibly be, because you can only be a bad imitation of me.
It's a beautiful game, isn't it?
It certainly is. When you play it with kids, you know, kids are great, and when you have the opportunity to play with the guys that we had this year.
I just want to say this, you know, our president here at WNET, PBS World, who is a very significant player, if you will, Neil Shapiro, is a hardcore Yankee fan and loves the game as well. And it just strikes me that for all the time it takes to watch a game that people say, and Neil and I talk about, it is beautiful.
It certainly is.
And it's a lot of life lessons. So listen, let me plug one more time. Tommy Weber is bench coach, Brewster Whitecaps, the champions.
Yes, sir.
2017 champions of the Cape Cod Baseball League, and a professor at, they should call this Louis Carter II U. It's St. John's University.
Chris Mullen U.
Yeah, Chris Mullen. Boy, he talk about a player and coach of the basketball.
Throwback.
I'm sorry, a lot of inside stuff.
Throwback.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
I
We'll
really
be right back
appreciate
right
it.
after this.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
One of the things I really enjoy, especially enjoy here at the NJEA Convention in Atlantic City, is meeting some of the educators that are featured in a wonderful series called Classroom Close-Up, seen on NJTV, our public television station in the state. Here she is right now. She is Vondalyn Fannin, Technology Education Teacher and Chairwoman, Science Committee, Franklin Elementary School in the state capital.
Yes.
Trenton.
Yes.
So we're about to see this Classroom Close-Ups video that is just so powerful in so many ways. When did you know you wanted to go into teaching?
When I was in college, and one of my professors really was a mentor, and we talked about a lot of things, and I shied away from teaching actually initially. I wanted to be a lawyer. But I did my first class actually in college, and she was very impressed. And she told me that that was my true passion and I should follow it.
Well, you did the right thing, because what you're about to see, check this out. This is about science fair. What are the ages of the kids?
Well, actually, it's the entire school, kindergarten through 5th grade. Our younger children do their projects with their teachers in class. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th this year did their own individual projects.
This is absolutely, categorically amazing. Check out this video. It tells a powerful story about the work you are doing with your colleagues, but also the impact that it's having on students and their parents, and we'll come back and talk right after this.
What happens to the marine life when the oil is spilled into the ocean? I reflect it into the mirror so it can reflect the light up.
This science fair at Franklin Elementary is not your typical school event.
The entire school is involved in the science fair from kindergarten through 5th grade.
Not only do all students participate, but they also judge each other's work.
We have a Kids' Choice Award for 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. And all of our boards are numbered so the kids don't know who's who, and they have to vote on their best.
So what you do is put the peroxide in both of them. I did an experiment called hot and cold water. My mom told me with this, my hypothesis is I think the temperature will change because the temperature starts at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and if you put the thermometer in the cup filled with hot water, the temperature will change.
Making it a process where it's student-driven, I think is the best part about it, because it's not me telling you, you have to do this.
Gummy bear zone. My question was, will these gummy bears dissolve? If so, how? Actually, water can make a gummy bear grow. I thought that the water will make the gummy bear dissolve, but it made it grow. This is the water. When I put this in the water for 12 hours, this will happen. It turned bigger, but it lost its shape a little.
During the day, all students visit the science fair, and that evening, many parents come to see their child's work.
Can you come sign in?
This is my project on how magnets work. The reason it can stick is because this is made out of iron, and iron is the king of magnetics. Earth has a magnetic field, and the sun has a 7 times stronger magnetic field.
So many times we don't know how that things works, and I think this is a good opportunity to learn how things work.
It's a nice way for the parents to connect with school, because it's not necessarily about homework, it's about exploring something that their child is interested in.
My project is oobleck, and when you punch it, it's a solid, and when you put your hand slowly, it's a liquid.
You like a heart.
Wait, me and my dad, we used all these materials, and we tried 4 different motors, and they all didn't work until we found the right one.
We encourage them, their peers are encouraging them. That child that might have been a little reluctant to do a project is now thinking, oh, well, maybe I can do this. I want every child to walk out of here feeling successful.
I got to tell you, when I watch that video, one of the things that strikes me the most is, first, that students are, they're actually giving feedback and judging other students?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
We decided as a committee that the children should have input, and we have actually done this before, but this year it really went over really well. Children are used to using rubrics and judging, and our kids are really competitive, so it was a natural fit. They like having the opportunity to shine, so it's something natural that you do in class anyway, so it just lended over into what we were doing really nicely as an added addition to evaluating, instead of just always the teacher's input.
But the other thing is the parents involved.
Yes,
Talk
very.
about that.
We have a lot of parents that, with the older children in particular, they help them with typing, research, whatever it is. Sometimes the kids do things that are a little bit challenging, and the parents will come to school and ask us for input. So we have a lot of parents every year, bills and bills, with our capacity, with our parents, understanding how they can help our children at home, because they're at home with them. We give them all the materials that they need to get a good start, but the kids have to actually select their topics. And sometimes the topic may be something that the parents are not really sure how to guide them on. So we'll work with the parents so that the kids can be successful.
What do you think this does for many of the young people who are involved in what we just saw? What impact, longer-term impact, do you think it is having on them?
The long term is that we really do have children who are interested in the science fields.
So the whole STEM thing, science, technology, engineering, and math, more are going into it?
Yes. Well, I mean, this is not new to Trenton. We used to have an engineering program many years ago.
But this is a different way of approaching it.
Yeah, but it's not new to Trenton. We have a tendency to have programs that come in and out. So I'm glad to see STEM come back to our area and to have the full support as far as funding to really push it through all the grade levels, especially because we have a group of children in our school and many other schools that really have an interest in science and technology and engineering, and we really want them to pursue that.
But what I was really trying to get at is what you've done here, this science fair, if you will. Your idea?
No. it's a collaborative effort as staff members. I worked with a great team of people. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and it's gotten bigger and bigger. Every year we sit down and we listen and talk about
what worked. Do you tweak it, change it up?
Yeah, every year. So like this year was a tweak when we really brought in the student input, and usually the 5th and the 4th graders were the ones that were evaluating each other's projects, but this year, well, in the tape, you'll see from 2nd through 5th grade, they're actually going around and they're really evaluating each other.
1 to 10. You love your job?
Oh, yeah, it's beyond a 10.
Come on, it's not beyond a 10.
It's beyond a 10. I've been doing this for over 20 years.
So if people say, even the best teachers burn out, you say? Because you can't be, you can't be more than 10.
You have your days, but that doesn't mean that I don't love it any less.
Love it.
I love it.
Not like it, love it.
Love it.
Love the kids?
Yeah.
It's personal for you, isn't it?
I've been doing teaching now for 23 years, middle school, elementary school.
It doesn't get old. And I just want to thank you so much on behalf of all of us who have benefited from public schools. My dad was a public school social studies teacher in Newark, New Jersey. My teacher at Broadway Junior High School.
Wow.
And my 2 sisters are educators. My father's 2 sisters are educators.
Okay.
And I just want to say, you are an extraordinary representative of this extraordinary profession of public school teachers. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by TD Bank, the New Jersey Education Association, New Jersey Council of County Colleges, Summit Medical Group, M.D. Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, the Northward Center, and by Fedway Associates. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Choosing a new family doctor can be confusing. Check with your health insurer to see which physicians near you participate with your plan. Find out which hospitals the doctor uses and who covers when the doctor is away. And remember to schedule an appointment with your new doctor in advance to fill out any paperwork without the added stress of being sick.